There is a moment in every trader's life that almost no one talks about. It doesn't happen when you place your first trade. It doesn't happen when you make your first profit. It doesn't even happen when you lose. It happens quietly, in stillness, when you finally realize that the market has never been your enemy. It has only been responding to who you are when uncertainty shows up. If you came here searching for an edge, a secret, or something hidden, let me say this gently but honestly, the market is not hiding anything from you. The truth has always been visible. What hides it is noise, urgency, and the mind's endless need for control. And today, I want to strip all of that away. Because when trading is reduced to its essence, when everything unnecessary is removed, it only asks two things of you. Not 10. Not 50. Just 2. Everything else you've been chasing is a distraction. Most people never hear that. They stay busy, they stay stimulated, they stay overwhelmed, and they mistake complexity for progress. I've spent years watching intelligent, hard-working people exhaust themselves trying to outthink something that was never meant to be conquered. They stay up late, they collect strategies, they adjust indicators, they search endlessly for certainty, all while missing the quiet moment where success is actually decided. That moment happens long before the outcome appears on a screen. It happens in what you choose to focus on and what you finally let go of. In the beginning, I was no different. I believed effort would protect me. I believed knowledge would make me safe. I believed that if I studied enough, the market would eventually reward me with certainty. But the market doesn't reward certainty. It exposes the illusion of it. I remember an early trade that changed everything. The setup was flawless. The analysis was solid. Every rule I believed in was followed. And I still lost. That loss didn't hurt because of the money. It hurt because it challenged my identity. It forced me to confront a truth I wasn't ready for. No amount of preparation can eliminate uncertainty. And in that moment, I made the mistake that ends more trading careers than any bad strategy ever could. I tried to control what cannot be controlled. That's when the first truth revealed itself. The first thing you must focus on in trading is risk. Not profit, not potential, not how much you can make. Risk. Most people reverse this order, and that single reversal quietly destroys them over time. They dream about upside before they define downside. They imagine winning before they accept losing. But when you define risk before you enter a trade, something powerful happens. Your mind stops negotiating with reality. You're no longer hoping. You're no longer bargaining. You're accepting. And acceptance is the foundation of clarity. When I finally understood that risk is not a threat to my identity, but simply the cost of participation, everything shifted. Losses stopped feeling personal. They stopped demanding emotional explanations. They became ordinary, expected, neutral. And when losses lose their emotional charge, they lose their power over you. I've seen traders with brilliant systems fail because they couldn't tolerate being wrong. And I've seen average traders succeed because they respected risk like a law of nature. The market doesn't care how right you are. It only responds to how prepared you are to be wrong. Once you accept that, fear begins to loosen its grip. But risk alone is not enough. The second thing, the only other thing that truly matters, is consistency. Not intensity, not motivation, not discipline driven by force. Consistency, and this is where most people misunderstand everything. Consistency is not about trading every day. It's not about being active. It's not about doing more. Consistency is about showing up the same way emotionally, regardless of outcome. One trade means nothing. 10 trades mean very little. A series of trades reveals the truth. There was a period in my journey where I took fewer trades than ever before. I waited. I passed on opportunities that didn't align perfectly. From the outside, it looked like hesitation. But it wasn't hesitation. It was protection. Because I was protecting something far more valuable than money. My state of mind. Once your mind becomes stable, results stop feeling heavy. They stop demanding your attention. They take care of themselves. Most traders don't fail because they lack opportunity. They fail because they can't repeat the right behavior long enough for probability to work. Discomfort appears, and they abandon the process. Uncertainty shows up, and they mistake it for danger. And in doing so, they step out of alignment with the very thing that could free them. Here is what few people are willing to accept. The market is not a test of intelligence. It is a test of emotional maturity. If you can define your risk clearly and execute consistently, you don't need to predict. You don't need to win often. You don't need to be right. You only need to remain present. Calm. Detached. Patient. I've watched people chase success as if it were running away from them, but success isn't running. It's waiting. Quietly, waiting for you to become someone who can hold it without fear, without urgency, without self-sabotage. As I went deeper, something unexpected happened. My results improved, but my peace disappeared. The account was growing, yet my sleep wasn't. Every open position felt heavy. Every fluctuation felt personal. That's when I realized I was doing the right things for the wrong reasons. I was still seeking validation from outcomes. And that's when consistency revealed its deeper meaning. Consistency is not about repeating actions. It's about repeating a state of mind. If you follow rules when things are going well but abandon them under pressure, that's not consistency. If you enter one trade calm and the next anxious, that's not consistency. True consistency is emotional. It is the ability to remain the same person while results change around you. I had to train myself to treat every trade as ordinary. No trade was allowed to matter. Because the moment a trade matters, you stop trading the market. You start trading your expectations. There was a losing streak once. Not dramatic, not catastrophic, just enough to make doubt whisper. In the past, that whisper would have turned into action. Overtrading, tweaking, forcing. This time, I did nothing. I honored my risk. I stayed with my process. I let probability do its work. That restraint felt uncomfortable, almost irresponsible. But discipline often feels like inaction. And paradoxically, it is the most powerful action you can take. This is where most people break. They want progress to feel exciting. They want growth to feel fast. But the market rewards endurance, not urgency. Another truth became clear during this phase. Focusing on profit creates emotional volatility. Focusing on execution creates emotional stability. When your only responsibility is to execute well, defined risk, repeated consistently, the outcome becomes irrelevant. And when outcomes are irrelevant, fear disappears. Not because you're fearless, but because there is nothing left to protect. I also learned something most people resist. Boredom is not a problem. Boredom is a sign of mastery. The best periods of my trading life were quiet, almost dull, no emotional highs, no dramatic swings, just steady execution, and that steadiness compounded in ways excitement never could. There is a reason most people don't last in this profession. It's not the losses, it's the waiting, the stillness, the requirement to trust a process without immediate reward. But if you can learn to wait without frustration, to lose without reaction, and to win without attachment, something shifts. Trading stops being a struggle. It becomes a practice. And when you stop struggling, results begin to improve. Not because you found a better setup, but because you stopped interfering with the one you already had. This is where trading becomes a mirror of life. When you chase outcomes in life, anxiety follows. When you define your risk and act consistently, grounding replaces fear. The principles don't change. Only the context does. Risk teaches humility. It reminds you that control is an illusion. Consistency teaches trust, not trust in outcomes, but trust in yourself. When these two principles guide you, something remarkable happens. You become calm where you once panicked, patient where you once rushed. selective where you once felt compelled to act. Money stops being emotional. It stops being personal. It becomes informational. And when money is no longer emotional, it no longer controls you. That is real freedom. Not freedom defined by numbers, but freedom of mind. The freedom to act without fear, to wait without frustration, to accept losses without judgment and wins without ego. So if you remember nothing else, remember this. You don't need more indicators. You don't need more opinions. You don't need to predict the future. Only focus on managing your risk. Only focus on staying consistent. Everything else follows in its own time. There comes a moment when every trader realizes the truth. The market was never the problem. The charts were never the obstacle. The real challenge was always internal. Mastery doesn't live in flexibility. It lives in commitment. When you commit fully to risk and consistency, every result becomes honest feedback. And honesty, while uncomfortable, is freeing. Abundance is not something you chase. It is something you allow, and it flows toward those who are calm enough to receive it. Stay patient. Stay grounded. Trust the quiet power of simplicity. The market will always be uncertain. But you don't have to be. That is not limitation. That is liberation.